My dear old things. Well, we all need as many of those brightly coloured clothes from Peter Christian as we can get, don't we, to try and get round the gloom that's coming across half the world from Brisbane. It really was an awful day, the third day of this second test match. Now, the awful thing is that 2 weeks ago to the day, England, at the end of the first day of the first test in Perth, really were in a wonderful position. They were favourites to win the match, to win the first test in Australia, and who knows, to win the series with it. Now, just 14 days later, we have realistically, to all intents and purposes, lost any interest, not only in the series, but also in regaining the Ashes. We're going to go 2 test matches down out of the 5 tomorrow, and we've got Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney to come. And it would need more than just a minor miracle if we were to win, I think, 2 of those, let alone 3. I agree the wickets in those 3 venues will probably be a little bit easier, but the sad thing today was that in Brisbane the wicket was easy. And there was no sort of devilry in it at all. I think actually I'm wrong to the extent that Ben Duckett got a nasty one, didn't he, from Boland, that ran along the ground and hit his stumps. It may just have taken the bottom of the bat. He was unlucky, but generally on this pitch it's behaved pretty well. And it just underlines the futility, and I use the word advisedly, of much of England's cricket. Feel sad saying this because I've always been a great supporter of Bazball, but really the future of this whole prospect begins to look in some doubt because England at the moment are still 43 runs behind Australia. They've got 4 second innings wickets in hand, and the chances are they're going to lose tomorrow by an innings. And who knows, go on perhaps to lose the series, 5-0, which has been a not unknown event when England have gone over for the Ashes to Australia in recent years. Well, now let's look at the day. Australia were 44 runs ahead, weren't they, with 4 first innings wickets in hand. And England didn't get the breakthrough. Stark went on and scored a splendid 77. He's a wonderful driver of the ball. He hits it square on the offside. He took his chances and he played with a full flow of the bat and timed the ball beautifully. It was a fine innings. And he had good support to start with from Nisa until he got a nick at Stokes and was caught behind. And then the next wicket fell when Carey, who had made 60, when Carey nibbled at Atkinson and gave Gus Atkinson his first wicket of the series. Caught behind he was. But Stark went on. And with the tail, in fact, every single one of the Australian side got to double figures. And this, I think, has only happened 3 or 4 times before in the history of Test cricket. So Australia had a lead of 177, and that in itself was pretty damning as far as England were concerned. Well, they went out and they had a 6 overs before the second interval of the day, the 20-minute dinner break. And Duckett and Crawley batted magnificently. They made 45 runs, and it really did look just the start England needed. But after tea, it all fell apart in capital letters. Duckett, first of all, had the bad luck to be undone by that ball which kept from Boland, which did keep very low. Pope came in, and Pope was all over the place. I've always had my own confidence in Pope is nil, because I don't think he's ever going to get runs when the pressure is really on. And today backed up this belief, I'm afraid. He could have been out 3 or 4 times, and in the end he played a firm-footed drive at Michael Nisa, whose bowls a sort of lively fast medium, and took a good return catch. And when 4 overs later, Crawley did the same thing, England were 3 wickets down, and their last great pair of batsmen, the 2 Yorkshiremen, Joe Root was already there. He was joined by Harry Brook. And what happened? Root got out. He perished quickly. He had nibbled at one outside the off stump. He was caught behind. And then Brook went the same way to Boland. And then Jamie Smith There was another one he got an edge to Stark, and goodness me, he hasn't looked the part at all in this match, either as a batsman, Norton for, or behind the wicket. Do you remember he dropped that rail gaper, I thought, off Travis Head in Australia's first innings right early on. Head had made 3, it was off Jofra Archer. And so England at the close, 134 for 6. They still need 43 runs to make Australia mad again, and the chances of them doing that, I'm afraid, are pretty remote. We had wild strokes. Why were the batsmen, hadn't they worked it out for themselves that was not the way to go? They had to play old-fashioned cricket. They had to fight on, just as they should have done in that second innings in Perth, but they were totally unable to. And we've got to ask ourselves lots of questions. What are the captain and the manager, Stokes and McCullum, saying to their batsmen? I mean, they have this philosophy, which Marcus Trescothick, the batting coach, was expounding at the end of the game, that he wants a side with its own identity. Well, if its own identity leads to defeat in this fashion, I don't think we need it at all. And then they say, Stokes and McCullum, that they don't want their cricketers to have a sense of any sort of fear. Well, fear of failure, fear of getting out cheaply, all that fear of being dropped. Fine, but again, I'm jolly happy they should have no fear, but my goodness me, their first job is to win matches for England, and this they don't appear to understand. So all these questions, I think, need answering, and I think the whole sort of concept of Bazball is really now going to be pretty well on the line. Do we actually have to readapt and find another more sensible, more staid way of playing? Or do we go on with this reckless dashing around outside off stump where we don't take any into concern either the situation in the game or the state of the wicket, or indeed the class, the ability of the bowlers, and indeed the excellence of the fielders, because Australia are wonderful. And then look at England on the second day, that fielding. I don't think I've seen a side under Stokes and McCullum look so bad as they did in the field on the second day. 5 catches went down, all of which were takeable. Okay, some were sort of 3/4 chances rather than half chances, and 1 or 2 of those might have gone missing, but surely to goodness, 3 or 4 of them should have been caught. And the one that Brendon cast dropped, well, that was a real stinker, wasn't it? And oh, to goodness me, he took 4 wickets. He bowled his heart out and did what he was asked to do. He bowled short. I wondered if Stokes' tactics if he got his tactics wrong in that game. I felt he did on a number of occasions. What we needed it to do was to pitch the ball up, to bowl at the off stump, the corridor of uncertainty, get the batsman uncertain whether to play backwards or forwards, and hope that a little bit of movement off the seam, which it was there, but not much, not extravagant, but it was there, and that it would find the edge of the Australian bats. The Australians batted very professionally. They batted in a way that England simply could not manage, or did not really try and manage. That was what was so sad. Anyway, I'm banging on and having a real go at Bazball, yes I am, because I think, like many hundreds of thousands of Englishmen everywhere, we're going to be deeply disappointed that a side that went out to Australia with great hopes of winning back the Ashes, winning the series for the first time since 2010, 2011, under Strauss. We thought they might do it, and it's been calypso collapso, hasn't it? It really has, and it is deeply sad. Anyway, let's cheer ourselves up, go off and get have a look at the Peter Christian website, get as many colourful clothes as you can, order them, mention the code word blowers, and goodness me, we're all going to be looking an absolute picture, aren't we? And at least we can smile about that.